So I haven't done one of these in quite a while, obviously, and I was gonna make some kind of like, I have it written here, Ken McFinty intro. And I was gonna make fun of the fact that now I shave my head, but I don't watch enough of his channel to really do an impression or anything of him. So yeah, this is like my first actual video I've done since I moved to this apartment. It's really weird. I generally don't hear anybody most of the time, so I don't know if my neighbors can hear me or not. Believe it or not, I'm kind of a shy person, like outside of shows or work or anything like that. I just try to keep to myself when I'm at like home in my environment. But anyway, figured let me get over that and get to doing another video because it's been a long fucking time. The holiday season's been a lot busier, a lot more hectic than I thought it would be. I should have seen it coming. It always is. I'm always trying to like get gifts for my family, work a bunch of overtime. On top of that, like the seasonal depression, you don't really feel like doing anything. I go on diets to start out the year, so like I try to get all my shitty food in, which makes me in turn a lot lazier. But you know, we're into January now. I'm feeling a lot better. The days are getting longer. Let's get another video out. So I actually did a video a while ago on tour tips. And one of the points in there is funny. I made it, I don't remember exactly how I presented it, but I always thought it would be a good idea, and it was something I wish I would have done when we were starting out. So I feel like this band that I'm in, like even though I started it forever ago and we've toured and we've done a lot, I feel like we really started in 2021. With Mike coming in, bringing the new energy and all of us on the same page with the same vision. It was the first time that like we were all focused and started doing something. And I kind of thought I would take a page out of my own book and do that whole like weekender for a span of 3 months. So keep an eye out. We might be coming through your city. Actually today, as I'm filming this, we announced it's going to be February 8th in Buffalo, New York, February 9th at Skid Row Garage in York, Pennsylvania, February 10th, we're coming back to Philly. I'm so fucking excited to come back to Philly. We haven't been there since, I think 2018 or 19. So it's going to be awesome to get back to that city and like reintroduce ourselves and see some familiar faces. Can't wait. Make sure you keep an eye out on our YouTube channel and on our social medias. That's obviously where I'm going to be announcing all of our runs. They're not all announced yet, but I'm going to try to keep the YouTube audience posted as much as I do on Facebook and Instagram. More on all that stuff later, but for now, with all that going on, that got me thinking about like more tour tips. That first video was more, I've never toured before, how do I book a tour? I was trying to gear it more towards that audience. But this one is like, okay, you've been on tour or you got a tour coming up. These are some of the not so obvious things that you don't really think of. Like, I remember when I started out, like I thought like we just had to sleep in our car the whole time. I was like in a big suburban, like mom SUV soccer mom thing. And I just thought like we had to sleep in that. And like I learned pretty quick that no, you don't. Like you can get real rest and how important real rest is. On top of all that, like I forgot certain things that were really important. Couldn't believe I forgot them. So with all that said, here's 5 tips. I didn't even mean for this to be 5 tips. That's just how this worked out. But here's 5 advanced touring tips.
Let's go!
All right, so tip number 1 is going to be harder for some people than it is for others. Don't be shy. All right, so what I mean by don't be shy is don't be afraid to stay with people that offer you a place to stay. Obviously, you need to like exercise a good judge of character. You know, I was always pretty lucky. I always was able to like kind of suss out sketchy people. I feel I've done a good job. Because anybody I've ever led over like to my mom's house when I was growing up or to my house as an adult, like most of the people, there's only been one guy that has ever like stolen from me, and he ended up like, we were really good friends for a while, but he got into drugs and turned into a major shitbag. You can't really see that one coming. Outside of that though, I've had a pretty good track record with sussing out sketchy assholes. So make sure that you exercise good judgment and you don't just like accept anybody, but if you can tell the person's like relatively put together, relatively responsible, and they offer you some floor space, like don't be shy. Like every penny counts on the road. You're trying to make it work as best as possible. So if someone lives 10 minutes or so from the venue, definitely take them up on that. And if they do live in a sketchier part of town, they're going to be aware of it. Like pretty much every time we've played Philly, we stayed with my friend Zaya from FTS. Unfortunately, I don't think they're a band anymore, but goddamn, like some sick East Coast fucking street punk. If you're into that sort of thing, definitely go check them out. They got all their shit on Bandcamp. They got stuff on YouTube. But we would always stay with the singer, Zaya. We always stayed at his house. I'm sure you hear me, He's mad because I don't have a couch anymore. He wants to jump up with me and jump back down. Debo, go lay down, bud. Go lay down. Go lay down. But we would always stay at Zaya's house, and he lived in South Philly. Obviously, that's like a pretty rough town, pretty rough side of town, and he was well aware of it. But he lived in kind of a duplex thing, so it's like 4 or 5 steps up a porch into his house that he was staying at the time. He had plenty of space. As soon as you walked in, we would just throw all our gear in there. And then he's like, yeah, the street 3 streets over has security cameras all over it. Go park over there. Nobody's going to touch your shit. You park on this street, you get broken into. Obviously, I think most of my audience is like aspiring tour musicians and stuff like that. And a lot of us happen to fall in the hardcore realm. Hardcore is just popular in like the rougher, sketchier side of towns. That's what I know. So make sure if you are staying somewhere like that, you have either somewhere safe to park your vehicle where no one's going to touch it, or you bring all your gear into the house and you park it a couple streets up. Whatever you got to do, just make sure the person knows that like their lay of the land. If they live in like the absolutely most horrible part of town and they're just like acting like nothing's wrong, you know, it's up to you to be self-aware. Maybe they're not thinking about having a shitload of gear. You know, theft is real. You know, luckily we've been so far so good. We've been lucky, knock on wood. Definitely take advantage of staying at other people's houses when you can. All right, so point number 2, as I often do, is a bit of a disclaimer on my previous point. So point number 2, maybe in certain cities, get a head start to get into the next city. This can go one of 2 ways. Maybe you're playing like a rougher city and you don't really know anybody and you didn't really like totally click with anybody at the show, and that's fine, you know, don't worry about that. But then the other side of this, which is kind of what we had to do almost every night of last tour, is the next city we're going to is, you know, 6, 8, 9, 10 hours away. So usually if you're in one of those kind of situations, it is best to, after your show, everything's done, you got payout, whatever, head a couple hours down the highway. Like, whoever's the least tired, one of you, please God, don't drink, you know, like at least have a sober driver for, you know, take turns being the designated driver. It's the best way to go for obvious reasons. But after the show, after you get paid out and everything like that, maybe get a head start down to the next city. Maybe drive like 2-3 hours or however long. If it's only an hour, it's only an hour. Sometimes I've had a crazy hair up my ass and I got to the next city and it's like 6 a.m. Bittersweet part about that is like, yeah, I just drove all night. But the best part is like check in at 7. Now we have until the entire next day at that motel. So you get to sleep in and do whatever up until it's time for the show. Obviously, there's a lot of variables. I don't want to get too distracted with like the nuances and stuff like that I normally do. But yeah, the disclaimer for point number 1 is like, maybe get into the city, play your show, and get the fuck out, get down the road to the next city. Usually it's safer, it's well-lit parking lots, security cameras, everything like that. It's a business. They want people to, you know, Motel 8s, Red Roof Inns. And some people might think it's a waste of money like I used to in the beginning, but if you really break down the math, it's like $60 to stay at a Red Roof Inn. You know, depending on how many people are in your band, like $20 or less. For a couple beds that you could either share, you get floor space, you get a shower, like $15-20 for a hot shower and a roof over my head is worth it every goddamn time. Debo, why are you so aggressively loud with your walking? I wish I could move the camera around so that way you guys could see him. I'm sure you guys miss him a hell of a lot more than you missed me. He's just so, he's a lot. He's a lot. Anyway, yeah, getting into the city, play your show, get a couple hours down the road, get a place to stay down there. It's worth the $15, $20, $25 a head, in my opinion. All right, so this next point is kind of where I was talking about when like some shit should be obvious, but it just isn't to most people. Pack the right shit.
I will take your respect if you don't give it up.
So obviously you're gonna pack your toothbrush, your toothpaste. Obviously, you know, even if you're staying at hotels and stuff, those dinky little shampoo bottles ain't gonna do shit for, you know, 3, 4, 5 people. So you wanna bring your soap, you wanna bring your shampoo, you wanna bring your teddy bear, all the essentials, you know what I mean? But the not so obvious stuff would be extra pillows. Those come in clutch for those long rides between, like, again, sometimes it's like a 3-4 hour ride day, not so bad. Sometimes it's like a 10-hour ride day, and when you have extra pillows in the back and you get to, even if it's just like one of these numbers just laying against that, it's like a pillow means everything to you. So just like bring pillows and then bring like an extra pillow or 2, because shit gets lost, other people forget their pillows, share pillows, you know, you're all like a family anyway. One big happy family. You never argue about anything, especially not the petty stuff at all. That was just a little passive aggressive. I actually love the guys in my band. We rarely argue. The other thing is a sleeping bag. So like, I've known people, not to name any names, that kind of assume rock star treatment on their first ever tour everywhere they go. That like, every house they're gonna stay at, they're just gonna have like enough spare bedrooms for everybody, or at least enough couches for everybody. When they stay at hotels, they're gonna have enough to like each have their own room or whatever. And no, that's usually not the case. Usually you guys are broke, scraping by, especially if it's like your first couple of tours. Like you're making no money at these shows pretty much. Usually, sometimes literally no money at these shows. So it's like, bring a sleeping bag, you know, or, you know, you can do what I do. I sprung, you know, a couple extra bucks and I got myself a twin size self-inflate mattress. And the reason I say twin size is because I did buy for last year, I bought a queen size mattress. And when I brought it out, I actually forgot it for the big tour, go figure. But when I brought it on the weekender, it's like the rooms we were staying in did not have enough room for an entire queen size. Like even if you pushed everything to the side, it's like a whole queen size mattress doesn't just fit. So twin size, I like to say it's tactical. And you know, I'm about 6'4", so I got the twin XL, so it's like still really thin, but it's a, you know, like a foot or so long. It's like a foot or so longer. It's still like the same size width, but it's like a foot or so longer. And that's a lot easier to fit into like, yeah, like a Motel 6, a Red Roof Inn, somebody's living room in their like studio apartment or whatever, wherever you end up staying, that's nice. Or a sleeping bag, depends on you. And then this is one that like I never hear anybody else talk about, and I'm surprised. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but you should bring vitamins, because almost every tour I've been on, I've gotten at least a little sick. Sometimes I've been sick enough to where I come back and like within a day I'm in the emergency room because I'm dehydrated and I got some weird travel virus that is like super rare, just for like the conditions I would be living in, which is like drinking all the time, eating horrible food, dehydrated, no sleep. Like travel alone lowers your immune system. Drinking and partying lowers your immune system. Bad food lowers your immune system. So if you're not willing to like give up the partying, if you're not willing, which is hard to do, like I actually, shit. Quick side note, this Saturday I'll be 5 months alcohol free. I feel like a bit of a hypocrite because I made a video that I thought about deleting, but it's like, I said it, I'm gonna stand on it, about being able to manage your partying. And like, I was able to for a while. And then I go off the rails, and then I'm doing good for a while, and then I go off the rails. And I'm at the point now to where it's just like, I got a lot of shit I'm trying to focus on right now. I wouldn't say I'm like a terrible, awful alcoholic. I still work, pay my bills. But like, there's a lot of things I really want to accomplish with this band and in life, and alcohol was just getting in the way. So I quit completely drinking. You know, don't come have a beer with me at shows anymore, I guess, But back to what I was saying though, if you're the type that like you would rather drink, and there's no shame in that, like if you'd rather drink and party and you're gonna eat bad food, and at least bring some vitamins. Take like a daily multivitamin, help battle off any kind of sicknesses or whatever for as long as you can. Try to eat healthy. And a major supplement that I recommend you invest in for touring is melatonin. Between getting anxious for certain shows the night before, because some shows are bigger than others, between being constantly hungover and dried out, between the horrible sleeping conditions or lack thereof, like any kind of sleeping condition whatsoever, it's really hard to get like good sleep. And like, to put on the best performances possible in these towns that you get like one shot to introduce yourself to an entire city, you need to be as well rested as you can. So like, smack down some melatonin, take the recommended dose, try not to go over, because then you'll just be groggy as hell the next day. But yeah, take a multivitamin, take melatonin, costs a little bit of money, but like, those are some pretty essential things that I think are super worth it that I never hear anybody talking about. All right, this next one's a little tricky. This one's a little sensitive, but it needs to be addressed, it needs to be talked about, but getting guarantees for your shows. So generally, when you're going out on the road for an extended amount of time, it's implied that you're gonna get broken off with something. Even if it's like a one-off show, like if we play just like a one-off show in Cincinnati, I've never like asked for a guarantee up front, but we usually, sometimes usually got something for gas on the way home. You know, the sad reality is that a lot of times what you're getting, if you're getting anything, kind of all depends on how good your band is. So like in the beginning, we weren't anything impressive. We were good enough to go on the road, I would wager, but like we weren't anything impressive. We weren't like blowing people's faces off, but it was still cool to get out there and like have people in different cities know about us and make friends and connections for down the road, to where we are now, where we did grow and we are something that's like, you know, we are worth going out on a Friday or Saturday night to go see. Like, we're worth your money now. But back then, you know, when you're not really worth anybody's money and you're just getting out there, like you're just starting out and nobody knows who you are. I mean, I've had times where I've got no money. You know, I remember the first time we played New York City, we played a spot, it's no longer around, called Don Pedro's in Brooklyn, and, you know, we got paid $40. You know, I don't know how much the hometown band made. I'm pretty sure they got paid out though, but you know, we got $40. And the guy who put on the show told us to like go stay at a hostel or whatever. Like it was, but that's kind of what you get when you're starting out. There's been times I've played even further away for no money. You know, one time we played Atlanta, and I love my boys down in Atlanta, but we played a big festival, and that's when we were all just kind of starting out and there wasn't really a lot of money going around. We made $40 that night too. You know, Ohio to Atlanta is a bit of a fucking stretch. I mean, I still appreciate it. It's still something. And back then we weren't making any money anyway, so we saved enough money. But obviously, you know, that kind of sucks no matter what stage of your career you're in. The other side of the guarantees though is like, don't outbid yourself. I've known a couple bands, not a lot, but a couple bands who they've done really big tours. They've even toured with really big acts. They're huge in their city and they're huge in a couple other cities, but they're not known maybe in Youngstown, maybe in Biloxi, Mississippi, maybe in Bozeman, Montana. Like nobody knows them there. Nobody's, you know, the scene's very much like its own thing out there, and people are asking for shit like $3,000, $5,000 for the night, and it's like, dude, you're not bringing anybody to the show. Like, we'll take care of you. Like, we'll give you gas money, don't worry, but you know, you're not exactly bringing any heads to the show. If you are, that's one thing, obviously. If it's your first time in a city and you're kind of introducing yourself to like the whole scene and everything like that, like hopefully you're on with a sick band and a shitload of people show up and you get your couple $100. I mean, we're like nobody special, but that's usually around what we make on a show, especially if we're on the road. Usually we get like a couple hundred. But yeah, don't go like outbidding yourself. Know your worth. Don't accept bullshit. Like if people are telling you straight up like you're gonna drive 15 hours away and they give you some like weird marginal, like this is what payout is, blah blah blah, and it seems like just unfair, like I guess don't go for that. I mean, take what you can get, but you should not be afraid to be guaranteed something for showing up, because at the end of the day, even though nobody knows you, people are coming out to their bar to spend money on drinks to watch a show. And if you're good enough, you'll make a killing in merch. And especially if you're good enough, they're gonna want you back through and they're gonna like give you a decent cut. But at the end of the day, they should give you something, because after all, you are the entertainment. If it's a punk bar, that's one of their features. We have live punk bands. You showed up to the job, get something for the fucking gas tank. This last point I think is actually kind of important, and it gives you another avenue to be creative. Make sure your merch table is lit, fam. Yeah, so you want your merch table looking professional. And by that I mean like, this is something I'm actually really bad with. Like, don't just like throw your shit out there and like expect people to like come see all these wrinkled shirts and like hold them up. Like a lot of times you'll get people holding your shit up anyway and it messes up the merch table, but try to at least have them folded in a certain way to where you can see the design. Try to have them set up like orderly, you know what I mean? So it's like not confusing to look at your merch table where you got two of the same shirts here and here. Get your CDs out. One thing that really helps us, it's a really cheap thing to do, is we got like a printed out piece of paper with our logo, and it's got like all the stuff we have with our prices, like t-shirts, 20 bucks, hoodies, 50, like shit like that. And it's printed out, it's got our logo on it, it's cool. We got a little plastic thing from Amazon for like $3 that holds it up so people can read it. You know, just that little bit goes a long way. One thing that I used to do is have like an electric camping lantern. So that way between bands, I wouldn't have it on like while someone was playing, it just felt weird. Unless we're in another room. But like just bring out a lantern and set it up. A, we're like a woodsy, you know, Ohio band, so it's like the lantern works for the aesthetic, and B, it like draws people's eyes to it, like something's lit up, you know what I mean? So they're gonna go over and like, if they don't walk over, they're at least gonna like keep looking over there. It's gonna maybe prompt them to eventually walk over. And on top of that, like, a lot of shows are in dark clubs, dark bars, things like that. So it really helps people be able to like really get a good look at your designs, get a good look at your prices, everything like that. Might even start a conversation or two, who knows? So get creative with it, figure out your own way to like make your merch table stand out a little bit. All right, so that wraps up this episode. Sorry, it's been a while. Like I said, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a bunch of these in this song, in the winter time. I'm gonna really crack down, and clearly I didn't. But it does feel good to make another one of these videos. Probably, honestly, just gonna crank it out and post it like, if not tonight, then this weekend for sure. So, thanks for watching Quest and Aggression. I missed you guys. Oh, if you haven't by now, Enemies, that EP that I've been pumping up pretty much since I started this channel, is finally out. It's everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, all the links in the description below. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Like I said, we're going to be hitting the road a lot this spring, really throughout the year. I have plans on going out and doing a lot of road gigs this year. So if you're new to the channel and you want to see us come to your city, just comment down below. Like, I'm always open to coming to new cities, and maybe you live in a city we've been to but haven't been to in a while, and it'll be easy to get down there. Maybe it'll be our first time through. Either way, like if it's not too crazy far out the way, like I don't think we're gonna go out to the West Coast this year, like drop your city below. I'll do what I can to come through. Love to come out and meet you guys. Yeah, that wraps it up. Enemies EP out everywhere. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any other ideas for videos too, comment that down below as well. Give it a like, it helps the algorithm. I hate being like, oh, like and subscribe, but definitely like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm. Share it with your friends. If you know a musician who's just starting out, maybe send them this way. Maybe they'll find something of value in these videos. All right, it was good seeing you guys again. Hope you guys like the bald head and the obnoxious mustache.